And now, aviation weather around Alaska. Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska aviation weather outlook for this weekend into Monday. Now, this Saturday, as I'm making this recording, we have an area of low pressure moving into Kuskokwim Bay that's going to move into the southwest interior up through the lower Yukon Valley and then pull back toward Norton Sound and St. Lawrence Island by the time we get into Sunday night and early Monday. A secondary low is going to take shape along Kodiak Island and then lift northeastward up along the Seward Peninsula to near Prince William Sound with a frontal system pushing northeastward with a surge of moisture and gale force winds. So we expect a broad area of IFR conditions late tonight and early Sunday morning from areas, the Anchorage Bowl, Upper Cook Inlet, across Prince William Sound along the northeastern Gulf Coast, and then just off of the west coast of the Panhandle, as there will be coastal rains and then heavier intercoastal mountain snows. By Sunday afternoon, that frontal system continues to work its way northeastward, and that low will begin to weaken as the other low sitting here over the lower Yukon basin will begin to pull back toward the northwest, toward Norton Sound for Sunday night. And we expect some areas of IFR here, Wrangell, St. Elias Mountains into the far northern Panhandle around Yakutat, and also up here into areas of the interior north and west of the Alaska Range. For Monday morning, still some areas of IFR along and north of Prince William Sound and could extend to Anchorage on up toward Talkeetna. Generally, VFR conditions are anticipated to return to much of the Panhandle. Pockets of IFR around the Yukon Flats, and then a broad area of IFR conditions are anticipated Monday morning out over the lower Bering Sea down into the central Aleutians, associated with the next low pressure and frontal system that'll be working its way across the Bering, approaching the southwest coast. Widespread IFR conditions from areas of the southwest, pulling up to near Bethel and extending out over the central Bering and then down into the eastern Aleutians, and then another area of IFR that persists out over the northwest Gulf, Prince William Sound, northern Kenai Peninsula, on up to just south of the Alaska Range, especially up through the Talkeetna Mountains. So Anaktuvuk Pass on Sunday, we'll see at least VFR conditions become MVFR. Adigan Pass, VFR also becoming MVFR. Lake Clark and Merrill should generally have MVFR conditions on Sunday because the precipitation that's going to be passing through here later this Saturday afternoon through at least Saturday night will already have lifted north and east. Now, as we go further up along the Alaska Range, IFR conditions early Sunday becoming MVFR at Rainy Pass. Same thing, Windy Pass will see IFR conditions in the morning giving way to MVFR conditions as that precipitation form of snow pushes north and east with the lower ceilings and visibilities. Isabel Pass should generally be MVFR on Sunday, and Metasta Pass will start out with some VFR early in the day giving way to MVFR conditions. Further south, though, in the Copper River Basin, as you're going toward McCarthy or down toward Tanita Pass, Portage, you're going to encounter IFR conditions as you go through the day on Sunday. Tanita Pass will see IFR early giving way to MVFR conditions, and then Portage Pass, the IFR conditions will be around there. Sunday morning becoming VFR, a little sliver of VFR develops there over the northern Kenai, far western parts of Prince William Sound for a time perhaps. And then up there, Chilkoot and White in the northern Panhandle should remain IFR during the day on Sunday. So here's the scenario. We have the one low that comes back up into the southwest interior. Late Saturday night, Sunday morning, secondary low rides along the eastern Kenai coast, Prince William Sound, weakens. Gale force, though, front works its way up into the northeastern Gulf Coast in through the Panhandle. Notice how freezing levels aloft bump up 6,000 feet. So there will be the potential for icing with the precipitation associated with that front as it works its way northeastward through the northeastern Gulf and Panhandle. Further across the interior, some isolated moderate icing possible. And as you get back to the far west, up here, south slopes of the Central Brooks Range back toward western portion of the Seward Peninsula, there could be some moderate icing above 2,000 feet. And then behind me here with the next frontal system, there's some warmer air south of the Aleutians, so above 6,000 feet here, especially in through the central western Aleutians associated with that next front. There could be some considerable moderate icing. For Sunday, looking at the upper level jet stream winds, 30,000 feet, we have this belt jet core of 125 knots over the middle panhandle in British Columbia, the inner coastal or mountains there of British Columbia. And then behind me, we have another area of higher winds aloft, 150 to 165 knot anticyclonically curved jet core that's diving right across the eastern Aleutians. And then by the time we look at 9,000 feet or 700 millibars there out in the west, we find a broad belt of winds 40, 55 knots there out over the central western Aleutians with a core of 105 knots there at 9,000 feet. And then as we look back here across the Gulf into Canada, just generally a broad southwest flow, 40 to 55 knots just across this region into northwest Canada. And we also have some stronger winds coming into the areas of the southwest at 9,000 feet. Bring it down, though, to 3,000 feet, and we find in the Gulf, southwest flow, a little core of 50-knot winds east of Kodiak Island. And as we go further west, there's the low that came up this Saturday into Kuskokwim Bay and then into the interior is going to pull back toward the east side of St. Lawrence Island, and we find stronger winds off of Point, say, Hope. This area here could see considerable blowing snow because of these strong winds, and the strongest winds are along the Russian coastline, north side of St. Lawrence Island, and then here's the area of low pressure way out to the west, bringing in some stronger winds along the frontal band of 40 to as high as 50, even 60 knots. And as a result, we expect, let's first start here, still some lingering turbulence, moderate turbulence over the northern half of the panhandle, surface to 6,000 feet, an area of considerable moderate turbulence over the southwest, much of the Alaska Peninsula on up into parts of Cook Inlet, Kodiak Island, surface to 4,000 feet. In the northwest, there's going to be some stronger winds along the spine of the Brooks Range into the north slope that come in there through Point Hope and Cape Lisburne, and then curve back down over eastern Russia and clip the north or western half of the St. Lawrence Island. So there could be moderate turbulence there, surface to 3,000 feet. And then back out here to the far west, the western Aleutians look for moderate turbulence, surface to 3,000 feet.